What's up everyone, my name is Nick and today I'll be telling you about the cost of living here in Malaysia. Thanks for watching, this is Global Gibbon. Hey, what are you doing here? I wasn't expecting you yet, but it's alright. So I want to tell you all about the cost of living in Malaysia today. But first, let me get up. Time to get ready. Hey. Alright, here we are. So today I'll be talking about the cost of living here in Malaysia and how different it is in different parts of the country, and of course compare it to the Netherlands a little bit, which is where I'm from. Now first I want to say that the cost of living is very different within Malaysia. Malaysia is quite a large country with big cities but also small little towns, and of course the cost of living in the larger cities like Kuala Lumpur is higher than if you would live in a small village where you can potentially harvest your own food like many locals do. So let's dive in. Let's start off with the costs of housing here. So I live in Kuching in Sarawak on Malaysian Borneo, and a 2-3 bedroom house, a terraced house, the rental will cost you about 1,000 ringgit. In West Malaysia, let's say in Kuala Lumpur, in the big city, you'll get an apartment of about 2-3 bedrooms for, let's say, 2,000 ringgit. So as you can see, there is a big difference between prices in West Malaysia and in Malaysian Borneo. And if you would rent a house in a little village, you might pay 500 ringgit for a whole house. If you're looking to buy a house, you can probably get a new house here in Sarawak for about 350,000 ringgit. That is a basic terraced house. In Kuala Lumpur, the prices to buy a house is the highest in the country. Of course, it's the capital, there's a lot of people living there and not that much land. So you'd probably have to cough up about 750,000 ringgit to buy a new terraced house in Kuala Lumpur. Alright, so let's move on. Let's talk about food. I mean, everyone loves food, especially here in Malaysia. So let's talk about what you can get in a coffee shop for your money. In certain places they still sell very affordable noodles, let's say a mee kolok or a laksa, and for a laksa here in Sarawak you pay now about 6 ringgit depending on your size of laksa, and for a kolomi, which is a simple delicious noodle, you'll pay about 3 to 4 ringgit. This is in Sarawak. In West Malaysia the prices might be a little bit higher than that. Now if you would like to order a drink in a coffee shop, you pay about 2 ringgit to 2 ringgit 50 for a Coca-Cola. For beer, however, if you enjoy drinking beer, you go to a bar and beer prices are quite steep here. You'll pay about 15 ringgit for a draft beer. So there's a big difference in, for example, the Netherlands, where if you go to a restaurant and you order a Coca-Cola, it's about the same price as a beer. So let's stick to the topic of food. Let's talk about how much groceries cost here. So I'm from the Netherlands and I love cheese, right? So unfortunately cheese is pretty expensive here in Malaysia. I get about 250 grams of the Gouda cheese from the Netherlands, and that'll cost me about 30 ringgit in the supermarket here, which is about 6-7 euros, and it's a small piece. But then again, if you buy cheese in Kuala Lumpur, it's a lot cheaper because there's less travel distance from where the cheese was produced. So now you're thinking, Nick, too much talk about cheese. What about other products? Let's have a look at a bag of rice, for example. A bag of 5 kilo rice will cost about 25 ringgit here. And let's talk about potatoes. I actually bought some potatoes, Holland potatoes. I'm not sure whether they were grown in the Netherlands, but a kilo of potatoes will cost maybe 3 ringgit, 4 ringgit here. And if you buy a bottle of water, like a 2 or a 1.5 liter bottle of water, you pay about 2 ringgit. So yeah, those are basically the average prices of things here in the supermarket. If you want to know any other prices, leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to answer your questions. Alright, so let's move on to transportation. Let's have a look at how much a car costs here in Malaysia. Malaysia has two homegrown brands, which are Proton and Pro2. Let's have a look at the Pro2 Axia, which is probably the most affordable car that you can get here in Malaysia. So the starting price for a new Pro2 Axia starts at about 25,000 ringgit. And if you're going on the road, of course you need petrol, right? So the price of a liter of petrol is about 2 ringgit here in Malaysia, and it's the same throughout the country, which is a bit different than in a country like the Netherlands, where a liter of petrol costs about €1.50 roughly, which comes down to about 7-8 ringgit per liter. Alright, so I told you about transportation and about cars, so let's now look at tourism. How much does it cost to spend a night in a hotel or to travel? So if you would buy a flight with AirAsia, which is the affordable carrier airline here in Malaysia, a domestic flight could cost you as little as 100 ringgit, which to me is pretty cheap for a flight. So then you're at the destination and you want to check into a hotel room. Now, a 5-star hotel room will cost you about, well, let's say 300 ringgit depending on your location. If you're okay with a more budget option, you can stay at a little guest house for as cheap as 60 ringgit per night. So then, if you want to visit a national park, of course, you got to pay some entrance fee. And for a foreigner, the entrance fee to the national parks here in Malaysia is 20 ringgit, and only 10 ringgit for locals. Then if you want to go on a boat ride, right, you want to do an activity. So let's say you want to visit Satang Island, which is a beautiful island here off the coast near where I live, near Kuching. So a day trip to this island with other people might cost you only 100 up to about 150 ringgit, maybe not including food. If you want to go diving and you're in Kota Kinabalu and you want to go on a dive trip, you know, estimate to pay about 200 to 300 ringgit for a 2-dive day adventure. Alright, let's talk about shopping, right? We all love shopping. If we have a bit of money, we will go online and we will look at all these things that we can buy, and well, let's talk about buying clothes. To buy a decent t-shirt with a brand, let's say Adidas or Nike or whatever, you can buy it online for maybe 40 to 50 ringgit here. And what is so great about being in Malaysia is that we're very close to China, so we have all these great websites where we can buy stuff online and it just flies over to our doorstep, and you know, from China or from West Malaysia, from anywhere. Then if you would buy, let's say, some good shoes here. I bought some shoes yesterday because I'm planning a trip into the jungle soon, so I had to get some good trail running shoes. And I bought them for about 200 ringgit, which is a pretty decent price, and I think it's about the same as you would buy these kind of shoes in, let's say, the Netherlands. Again, these are worldwide brands, so the pricing is about the same all over. Now, let's move on to the next topic. Alright, so the next topic I'd like to talk about is, because you might think, okay Nick, all interesting and well, but you're a foreigner and you live in Malaysia. How did you get here and what visas did you have to get? So over the years I've had different visas. I've had the normal tourist visa, which luckily is free. You get 90 days to spend your holiday here in Malaysia if you're traveling here. And later on I got a work permit, which I believe was about 400 ringgit, which was paid by the company that I work for. And right now I am married, so I'm on a spouse visa. And I got this visa and it was a lot of paperwork to do, which I guess is the same in any country for these kind of visas. And I had to pay a deposit of about, I believe it was 1200 ringgit, and that was the deposit that I had to pay, which I will never get back unless I leave the country. And yearly I believe it's about 100 or 150 ringgit for my visa to continue. Alright, so that's the information that I can give about visas, because I've had a little bit of experience, and yeah, these are basically the prices. Alright, well, I think this is the end of the video. I think I've given a little bit of information about the cost of living here in Malaysia, and of course you might have a lot of questions about things that I did not mention and perhaps how it relates to the Netherlands, so feel free to leave a comment down below and ask me a question. I'll happily answer all your questions. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe to my channel because I upload videos every single week, and for now I will say bye-bye and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.